I can't believe how bloody windy it is today here in Liverpool. Okay, so why am I here? If you can pick up that wind, I do apologise. My phone's shaking everywhere. It's not the stabilisation of the phone, it's bloody the wind. Look at it. You can't see wind, but you can feel it. Hopefully it's picking it up, but today is a very windy day. But this video is not about the wind. In fact, it's about something a little bit more interesting than that. Have you ever been to Liverpool? Well, if you haven't, we're here now. In fact, we're at a very special place called the Royal Albert Docks of Liverpool. Now, if you've not heard about it, listen to this, because this is going to get interesting. There's something that most people aren't aware of regards to the Albert Docks, but don't worry, because you're going to find out starting right now. Okay, hopefully that wind stopped. I'm just going to hold my coat there because I've got a microphone just there. It's called a lavalier mic, very posh and technical. Right, I'm under this bridge. It's pretty quiet today, considering, but not in the city centre of Liverpool. It's packed, and in another video we're going to go into that. But this video is basically about the Albert Docks. So I can't talk to you out here, unfortunately, because it's far too windy. Literally, I've got this bridge trying to keep the wind away, and it's not doing a very good job. If I had a wig, it'd bloody fall off. But look at that scenery there, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Oh, look at that water, perfect. Look at it, I feel like I could just jump in that. But even though we're in August now, and it seems tempting, believe it or not, it's actually not that warm considering it's summer. This is probably the windiest, wettest, horriblest summer we've ever had, because back in June, it was literally baking. And in June, I wasn't in sunny England, I was in sunny Benidorm. I've got videos on that, so if you go back you can watch them, so check them out. Look, someone must have been tempted swimming because they've got life rings. Is that what they call them, life rings? Look at that, it's like the Millennium Wheel in London, but this is like the Scouse version. It's big though, isn't it? If you go on that at the top, it shows you all of Liverpool, but from this angle you can only see a bloody tree, but you get the gist. Okay, here is the Marks and Spencer, I think that's what it's called, yeah. The M&S Bank Arena. M&S stands for Marks and Spencer's, which is a British store that sells clothes, food, and all things of finer life. In other words, it's very expensive, but very high quality. Well, I say it's expensive, it's not that expensive, but it's the clothes there are very well made, but they're more tailored towards older people, maybe people over 60. You don't tend to see young people going into Marks and Spencer's shops. Okay, anyway, so this is the M&S Bank Arena. So what's the fuss about? It's a big one, isn't it? This is where they have huge shows. Again, they got hotels around. You got that big wheel. If you fancy feeling sick for 5 minutes, you can do. But yeah, this is where they have big events like performers, singers, artists, and conventions. There's another building next to it as well. I'm not sure what it's called. It's not that where the yellow sign is saying Palmer Hotel. You can only see the first couple of words. But there you go, the Liverpool ACC. There's another part of it. This venue's massive. I don't think we can get into it unless they've got some sort of event on, and I don't think they have today. It's usually at the weekends. They have Comic-Con convention. I've been to that one. They have big festivals there and all sorts of big competitions like bodybuilding competitions, Olympics sometimes go there, boxing, all sorts of big, huge events. So if you're ever coming out to an arena, more than likely, you'll be coming to this one here. And this is all part of the Albert Docks. Now it's new, it's not always been here, it's only been here for a few years, but that's development, isn't it? So there you go, bit of knowledge for you. I do apologise, I got it wrong because I couldn't see the writing, but it's called the Pullman Hotel. That's right behind me. Now I imagine it's very expensive to stay there because you're literally outside another arena, which is called the Exhibition Centre of Liverpool. Again, they have big exhibitions, obviously, and all sorts of stuff there. And it's sandwiched between this one as well, which is what we just looked at, which is the M&S Arena. So everything's here on your doorstep, and believe me, it gets very busy. I remember coming here once and the security was rubbish. I paid tickets to come to a Comic-Con convention, or that wind, Comic-Con convention. It cost me about 40 quid. And there was massive queues all along there. But they didn't even ask for your bloody ticket. You could have just walked in. I'm just going to bloody pay for it now. Well, there's that wind again. I need to get in the shelter. I do apologise, guys. I was supposed to be getting a flight this weekend, and if you can't hear that wind, you could probably hear it now. Can you hear that? It's scary stuff. You can even see by looking at the sea how bad it is. Yeah, I was supposed to be flying this weekend, but I'm a nervous flyer as it is. And can you imagine being in a plane in the sky with these winds? God, that'd be bad turbulence, wouldn't it? That'd be terrifying. I'm so glad I'm not going, but I am going again soon, but probably September. But I'll definitely check the UK forecast before I book a holiday. Like I say, I'm a nervous flyer, especially in winds like this. Right, I'm going towards the water now, and believe me, it is very windy. That's why no one's about. This is a major city. Cities get very busy. So why is it not busy? It's because the weather's pretty bad. Look, if you look at the sea there, look at it. Them big waves, all of the cameras showing it. But yeah, it's usually very settled, the sea. But I wouldn't want to go swimming in that, would you? I feel sorry for that buoy. Is that what they call them? Buoys? That red thing there. Look, there's a ship in the distance. Is it stagnant? Is it just sitting there, or is it actually in motion? I don't know, actually. But it's pretty, isn't it? Can you see in the distance? There you go, the Marks and Spencer's Arena. We're at the other side now. Near, obviously, the docks. That island over there, it's not an island. It's just a river that passes through. That's called the Wirral. Oh, look at that little old woman. Is she waiting for a bus? I hope not, because there's no buses come up and down here. Well, if there is, I haven't seen any. Actually, I do apologise. I think that's a bus over there coming in the distance. See, I do apologise, I was wrong. Actually, what am I talking about? I'm actually under a bus stop now. Take notice of me. There is a bus that comes along here, but I don't know how often they come. Where's he running to? Is he running for that bus? The bus that I thought didn't exist. Oh, thank God for that. I've had to just come in out of that terrible windy weather. Oh, but anyway, I'm dry now. When I say dry, there's no wind coming in, waving me hair everywhere. But let's get back to it. So again, today I want to talk to you about one of the most famous places in Liverpool, which is obviously the Albert Docks, which is a wonderful place. Now, if you've ever been to Liverpool, there's a good chance you've seen the Albert Docks. They're right by the waterfront, which we've shown you before. It's full of history, and now it's packed with shops, museums, and places to eat and drinks, and everything's there for you to enjoy. But have you actually ever stopped and asked yourself who built the Albert Docks? And where did all these things come from? And why were they built in the first bloody place? And who actually owns them? So let's look. Let's start first of all. Where were the Albert Docks actually built? Well, back in the early 1800s, Liverpool was one of the busiest ports in the entire world. It's crazy, that, isn't it? Goods from all over the globe were being shipped in and out of the city all of the time. Now, the docks that already existed were getting too small and too crowded. Boats were waiting around, I think, because they were too big, basically, and too long. And there just wasn't enough space to handle all this traffic. So the city needed to come up with something bigger, better, and more modern. And that's where the Albert Docks come from. You see, the Albert Docks was built to fix this problem, and it gave ships more room to load and unload goods quickly and more efficiently. It was also built in a new way that was clever. Far from its time, to be honest, because back then they didn't really understand like they do now, but back then it was very ingenious. The warehouses were right next to the water, so goods didn't have to come from longer distances. They could be literally carried in very quickly. In fact, it was one of the first docks in Britain to be built using only brick, iron and stone. That means there was no wood, so it was much safer from things like fires, which is fantastic. because these were a big problem back then, especially in warehouses. So, who actually built the Albert Docks? Well, it was designed by a man called Jesse Hartley, along with another engineer named Philip Hardwick. Now, Jesse Hartley, or Hartley, should I say, was already working on Liverpool's docks at the time. He was known for being really smart and ahead of his time. And work began in 1841, and the Albert Docks was officially opened in 1846. It was named after Prince Albert, who was Queen Elizabeth's husband. That's all right, isn't it? He actually even came to open the docks himself, which made it a very, very big deal. So what was the Albert Docks actually used for? Well, in the 1800s, it was used to store goods like cotton, sugar, tea, tobacco, and brandy. These were goods coming from places like India, Africa, and Americas. Well, that's what they used to call it then, but it's basically America. Some of these trade routes are linked to the darker parts of British history, like the slave trade, which Liverpool was sadly a part of before slavery was actually abolished. That's sad, that, isn't it? But it's true. You see, it's important to know that because even though the docks is beautiful now, its history is a mix of growth, success, and pain. Now, the Albert Docks was very successful for a long time, but in the 20th century, shipping started to change completely. Boats got bigger, they needed deeper water and more modern technology, and by the 1970s, the dock was no longer being used. It was out of bloody date. And it actually sat empty and the building started to fall apart. But that's not the end of the story. Because what happened next was that in the 1990s, there was a big plan to bring Liverpool back to life. A resurrection. The Albert Dock was one of the first places to be brought back, and it cleaned up very good, and it was worked on relentlessly. It got repaired and then turned into what we see today, which is absolutely fantastic. Now it's home to places like the Merseyside Maritime Museum, and if you haven't been there, I suggest you go. You've also got the Tate Liverpool Art Gallery, which is there, and many restaurants and bars, even though they're quite expensive. But it's still a day out. It's actually one of the most visited spots in the city of Liverpool. So who owns the Albert Docks now? That's a good question, isn't it? Because the dock is no longer owned by the city like it was in the past. Today it is owned by a private company called Aberdeen Standard Investments. Now, I've never heard of them. Have you? So what they did, they actually bought the site in 2018 and they now manage the entire buildings, the businesses inside them, and the land around it. So even though it's a public place that you can visit, it's looked after by a company behind the scenes. So in summary, the Albert Dock was built in the 1840s because Liverpool needed a more modern dock to handle the huge amounts of trade coming through the port. It was designed by Jesse Hartley and it was opened by Prince Albert. The Albert Docks actually helped Liverpool become one of the biggest trading cities in the world, but after many years it fell out of use and sat empty for a while, in fact quite a long time, until it was brought back to life in the 1980s. Now it's a popular place for locals and tourists, and it's owned by that company that keeps running it to the present day. So that's basically it in a nutshell, and I hope this gives you a clearer idea of where the Albert Docks actually come from and why it's such an important part of Liverpool's history. If you found this video interesting, let me know in the comments, and if you've ever visited the dock, share your experiences below. Did you like it? Did you think it was fun, interesting, or do you think it was boring? I don't think you'd say it was boring. But anyway, that's my opinion. What's your opinion? Let me know again in the comments. It's great to share. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.